I struggle to find the words to describe what Clarence is. On the surface, it looks like your average slice of life show, but upon watching, you'll start seeing the weirdness, the darkness, the unhinged nature of it. It just starts pouring out. It was Cartoon Network's series about the everyday life of a 10-year-old boy named Clarence, with his two friends, Jeff and Sumo. The series takes place in the suburbs of Aberdale, Arizona, where Clarence and his friends live. Clarence was voiced by Skylar Page in the first 35 episodes and Spencer Rothbell in the remaining 95. He is a young chubby boy with pink skin and buck teeth, who has a sense of childlike enthusiasm that can't be wavered, and a sense of logic and reasoning that is very confusing but endearing nonetheless. His friends are germaphobe, square-headed Jeff, voiced by the Goldbergs actor Sean Giambroni, and feral wildcard Sumo, or just Ryan, voiced by SpongeBob SquarePants himself, Tom Kenny. Each episode tackles a new challenge, idea, or adventure that one or more of the characters face, such as going to the arcade with little to no money, helping your mom make a casserole, making your own currency, and money laundering. You know, all the fun things that kids do when they're bored. And sometimes the episodes aren't really about any major plot point in particular. It's just about situations you create from nothing as a kid. Clarence had always been a show that I had casually watched and, seen some episodes here and there, but it wasn't until I saw something that happened in an episode that made me go, oh, what? So going through this series, it was really fun for me, and I can't wait to really dig into the series here and see all the obstacles it had to overcome while trying to stay on the air, pumping out constant content that was both enjoyable and weird, but in the best way possible. If you enjoy this video, you better subscribe. Let's take a look at this absolutely unhinged show.
Now let's have the best summer ever.
Welcome back to the 25 Days of Fringe-miss, where there's going to be brand new videos every single day from December 1st to December 25th. Hop aboard.
Clarence is a show that I've heard a lot of people dismiss more than give any praise for it. It was something I didn't pay too much mind to, catching it on sometimes, but I think when you start giving the show a bit more attention, you get more out of it. I'll go into a lot more of what I mean by that later on throughout this video, but I want to elaborate on why this show started to hook me. It had this one extra little element of just being so out of pocket. You have three clashing perspectives throughout the show with these kids. Clarence has the more creative mind, viewing the world and what he sees differently than his friends. Jeff is very cautious, but he's precise in knowing what he wants, what he likes, and presents himself as an old soul. While Sumo on the surface seems like he'd be the less than intelligent one, as we go through him without the show, he's a pretty deep character with complex emotions. He tends to still have these feral moments or outbursts of doing something wild, but he internalizes a lot of that, getting lost inside his own mind and taking himself out of the moment, which plays a lot into his upbringing. Because of how the show plays with perspectives for all of the situations we see them in, it can result in some dialogue choices that I feel I'd hear when I was a kid. Stuff that I don't feel I've heard portrayed this accurately in a kid's cartoon before, especially one trying to be more grounded in some sort of realism. Or even how there's moments of trying to learn things like the circle of life, where in one episode while there's a substitute teacher in, Clarence notices that the regulars teacher's cicadas are about to shed their shells, and Clarence helps to go get the teacher to come back for this, and all of the kids go outside to see them hatch and fly away, and as they do, a bird flies in, brings the cicada to the ground, and gruesomely rips it apart, not really shying away from showing it. And you even get to see it all mashed up inside of its mouth at one point. We get to see all of the kids here have different reactions to it for their understanding of the circle of life, some kids being horrified, some thinking it's cool. The show would out of nowhere add this type of extra little layer that would make me go, wait, there's no way that just happened on this cartoon. But they do happen, and it starts really speaking to how this show goes about the slice of life genre and growing up in these formative years.
Hey Clarence, why don't you go take a look in the backyard?
Originally created by former Adventure Time storyboard artist Skylar Page, the series was quickly adopted by series writer Spencer Rothbell and the creative team. The idea behind Clarence had originated in college, Cal Arts to be exact, where Page and post-creative director Nelson Bowles studied together, and the idea stuck with Page after graduating and entering the animation workforce. When Cartoon Network opened up about looking for more content, Page revisited this idea and further fleshed out these characters in the story to make it pitchable. The pilot was then created not too long after year and premiered on Cartoon Network's short program alongside other new series premise shorts like Steven Universe and Uncle Grandpa. Due to positive reception, in December of 2012, Cartoon Network greenlit the show and ordered 12 15-minute episodes. After being greenlit, the short went on to be nominated for an Emmy in the category of Outstanding Short Format Animated Program, which would pose as a good omen for the success of the series once it aired. Although the pilot was shown in 2012, the series didn't premiere until April 14, 2014, and had about 2.3 million viewers, making it Cartoon Network's most watched series premiered that whole year. Only a few months after the series aired, the world found out that Skylar was a pretty awful, disgusting person, so Cartoon Network fired him from the series, but didn't cancel the series despite the creator's downfall. Instead, the series was inherited by Clarence writer Spencer Rothbell, who also took over the voice role of Clarence as well, and the series transitioned the episodes from there, going on pretty flawlessly. In response from ex-head of story Patrick Harpin, he went into detail about how little Page really had to do with the show past its initial inception and showing up to read the lines. He claims that the series was truly formed by the writers, himself and Rothbell, along with the storyboard artists. He says they took the general ideas and made it a tangible character. He argued that the crew that actually had been heavily invested in creating the show doesn't deserve to be punished for one person's bad actions, and one who didn't contribute to making to the show special in the first place. In listening to interviews with Spencer Rothbell, he truly does treat this show like his own, and the crew of the series is incredibly close and works together quite harmoniously. I also want to take a minute to commend Rothbell for his voice work for Clarence. Not only does his voice sound extremely similar, it also captures that same childlike energy that was important to his tone from the beginning of the series. Initially, they had wanted to find a child voice actor for Clarence, but they couldn't find exactly what they were looking for, so Page decided to voice it himself in the beginning, which I think was actually a smarter choice considering what happened to Jeff's voice throughout the course of the 3 seasons.
Take out the burger, I just want the fries, the drink, and the toy.
It's fine, fine. Jeff, just be logical.
But that also kind of reflects growing up and how your voice does change. Each character is based off a real-life person that Page had known in his life, everyone except for the naive and overly positive Clarence. Page actually doesn't have inspiration for Clarence because Clarence is way too good and too pure, especially to be based on any real person. But Chaotic Sumo, on the other hand, is based off of a member of the creative crew named Ryan, whose nickname was actually Sumo, and was one of those weird neighbor's kid types. Page voiced frustration in shows like Bob's Burgers and The Simpsons because each character has the same look that indicates the universe they're in, while the team here wanted each character to be treated like they're the star of their own series. Inconsistency was consistency when going about designing each new person. Even watching the first episode, I was a bit confused as to who the show was really about. I mean, obviously the title's called Clarence, I'm sure it's about Clarence, but the first character we see is Sumo, and the first conflict of the series is a conversation that Jeff has with a Rough Riders chicken employee. The focus in this episode is just on Jeff trying to get a clean, germ-free meal of fries that took him way too much effort to get, and we don't even really focus on Clarence and his role in the series until the end of the episode when he explains why he steals Jeff's fries to begin with. This speaks to the focused, fleshed out, and unique side characters in Clarence, because each character is given their own focus when on screen, because they have their own stories that are being told. And because of this, the more people you meet, the larger the world of Clarence becomes. It was also important to the design that they weren't traditionally perfect, like a lot of Hollywood would depict characters traditionally. Page wanted his characters to be ugly and messed up, specifically like, real people.
I'm ugly and I'm proud.
Not only are they designed differently, but they each have pretty diverse family and class dynamics. The way Clarence's home life is shown versus Jeff's as well as Sumo's are very different from each other's. How we explore their family dynamics and how as kids that shapes a lot of who we are and how we understand things, while at the same time viewing your friends and how their family life is, whether you see it as different to yours or ignorant to it. But it really points to how dedicated to realism the show was trying to be. These families are also not the traditional upper middle class families that are usually depicted in cartoons. It understands that not everyone is the same as depicted in a lot of media. The series art also has a heavy emphasis in capturing the nostalgia about being a kid. The environments feel very lived in. Clarence's home is frequently littered with used fast food napkins, cups, toys strewn about. His home looks lived in, which is important when talking about a place where a child lives, especially in a single parent household. Clarence's parents didn't have a real good marriage. Yeah, and ignoring Chad, because while we love Chad, he's great, he's just kind of like another child sometimes, most times. We also visit memory-inducing spaces like fast food play places, arcades, the zoo, all of which bring up specific memories memories about being a kid in these familiar places. And because of the detailing, the extra time spent trying to occupy space within the environment, whether they're dirty, cluttered, and sticky, or slightly more polished and cleanly, they feel that much more real and true to what you may have experienced in your upbringing.
Hey guys, look who I ran into at the store. It's Chelsea.
Hey guys!
In total, Clarence sports 130 episodes across 3 seasons, along with a series of 14 shorts that also aired alongside the episodes. On April 4th, 2017, Spencer Rothbell tweeted to confirm that Clarence will not be making any further content, but will continue to air new episodes through 2018. While some may complain that its cancellation was premature, they did make an impressive amount of content over the course of 4 years. When asked why the series didn't continue, Rothbell states there was no specific reason. He says that he has a few ideas that could have contributed to it, but to be perfectly honest, it was probably just its time. The network is always looking to create new content once a generation of cartoon watchers ages out of their target audience group, with a new wave of children to make content for. They were looking to create something new for them, and Clarence had just run its course. But in fully checking out the series, I appreciated how much charm it actually had. The way that the characters are written is pretty real to childlike wonder, real to the different types of personalities and how they all commingled. They aren't written to be understandable, and sometimes the things that they say only make sense to the characters themselves. It also is super refreshing to have a series where things constantly don't follow a mold. Clarence subverts expectations so frequently that trying to guess what is coming next is 1, exhausting, and 2, not very fun. What I ended up enjoying a large portion of the show for was how you look at it from a glance and how it looks like your run-of-the-mill slice-of-life comedy. But it starts going off the rails in the ways of the side comments made, the circumstances of the day they're having, or the shock of not being ready for a joke or visual gag to go as far as it did. It's great to just sit down and let the story and bizarre child logic carry you. In Clarence, there's no magic or sci-fi elements. It focuses on normal kids, like painfully normal kids who have differences in their lives, families, and interests. While the series initially prided itself on being a breath of fresh reality in a world of fantasy and non-realism, a real beautiful thing happens when you embrace the realism of the series, only to have these exaggerated moments of truism that reflect your own childhood, how you experience the rhythm of the world around you. In itself, it starts to become bizarre and somewhat surreal. Even Sumo's existence and the things that he creates, like the blood burger, which is just a regular burger drowned in ketchup, is super bizarre because of how they visually portrayed this scene. It's not for you, the audience, to see it for what it is, but for Jeff to hyper-focus on how gross everything in this scene can be for someone like him. The series managed to balance both at the same time, because while reality is boring, it can be fun if you think about reality in a surrealist way, which is, in turn, what children do. Thinking back on this series and what it has gone through in the past, it's a very solid show that managed to overcome hardships and achieve what it was trying to convey. We grow and learn the way the world works at these formative moments, experiencing something for the first time and how we interpret it. While you do sometimes see and understand these things through forces like home life and school, a lot can be learned and discovered through your close friends. Each of these 3 characters see and experience most of the time the same thing, but it's the individual perspective aspect that changes. But how do you feel about Clarence? Do you personally enjoy the series, or was it not for you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe. Later.